All right. All right. Excuse me. So we're gonna do a little bit of a, as you know, when it becomes like 1 a.m., I love to VOD Overwatch games. So I took the liberty of seeing that you guys needed somebody to VOD this. So I thought that I would just do this. Just it also helps me as well get better at looking at things. So you have a tank trial in here, Shade Fard 420. um, but we'll get started with just general knowledge on how to defend this first point because it's really important. The rotation is really important because, if you lose that fight right here, I mean, there's the thing. Like, this is a extremely quick first point because most of the time the cart is going to get to here before anything happens. The cart is going to get to that car before anything happens, and literally that's all they have to go is around that corner. So that's why this is a really, really important first choke fight. And the rotation is really important because you're going to be fighting on while rotating. So I mentioned this while I was trialing, but I will talk about it again here. So when you're playing a Sigma comp like this on defense, let me use it. Blue is pretty common on this map. Let me use yellow. When you're playing a comp that has Sigma on this map, which you're mostly playing Sigma and every single time on this map. The shield placement is really, really, really important because it's going to enable the team to rotate in the best way possible. So I would recommend starting out with your shield right here. And I would recommend that nobody plays over here. Nobody. I mean, it always depends, whatever. But like most situations, I'd rather, if I was playing on a team, I'd rather not have a DPS or support start here. I'd rather not start here because the rotation to leave, especially when the choke gets to like right here, since you're playing high ground, is much longer compared to the regular rotate. So if you have your shield right here, right, and you have Parker shooting behind here, and maybe Murph is right here as well, and maybe the tank is right here as well, and Boopy's over here, and Fox is over here. What this does is because the shield's right here, and because you're playing right here, this is the easiest way to rotate out while taking the least amount of damage. So from this rotate, if once the cart gets to around here, that car, once that happens, you want to give up the high ground and rotate here, put the shield up right here. What you're doing is you're fighting this lane right here, but you're denying this high ground. Because if we go over and look, when you're playing right here, the value of this high ground is basically mitigated. I mean, the only thing they can do is go right here, and then you have that line of sight on them, right? So the rotate, like I said, and I'll compare it to two other rotates here, is back here, shield here, deny this high ground from shooting down on your supports. A rotate from this high ground would require you to go all the way through here and back. And you might think that's not far at all, but I mean, you don't have a Lucio, so you're not getting speeded, so Sigma walks pretty slow. I mean, it's probably going to take an extra 3 or 4 seconds to get there, and that is everything when the cart is already right here. Like, if the cart's right here, when you decide to rotate from here, by the time you get over here, the cart's probably going to be right here. So you're going to be dropping into a fight instead of preparing for it. And right, if your DPS are playing right here, they have to cross this path to get to the choke, the new choke. This is where the shield is. They have to cross this path to get there. If they start right here, they just have to drop. So that's mitigating a lot of poke damage they would be taking from having to cross this area. The only exception is the Widow, who's playing right here. She can easily just kind of walk around because of this cover. But he rotates quick. Pick on him. Trade picks. Yeah, see what happens when he went over there? Nothing they can do about that. Now you're basically lost this fight. I don't even think you could probably contest this point again. And literally, it's because you start, like, one of your players started, like, 10 feet where he shouldn't be. Like, that's how crazy this game is now. Like, I don't really see a contest here. Maybe a last minute one. Maybe Fox can get a pick and you can, you know, the Sigma can drop in, take some damage.
Clear out.
At this point, you could contest. But yeah, underestimated the time it takes from get to there to here. He's gonna contest. It's rocked out of his thing. He uses his abilities doesn't use it very sparingly. He's also not really shielding his team, he's only shielding himself. I would put the shield right here. Yeah.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
So the placement of the Sigma shield kind of, you know, isn't really helpful to the team. Get stagger ulted. This is sort of a one fight there. I mean, he uses that for no reason. You probably could have killed them regardless of using that or not.
We are falling apart. We are falling apart.
The barrier has fallen.
This ends now. Personne n'échappe à mon regard.
I mean, pretty good fight. Pretty good fight. And whenever I always talk about this, whenever I look at a comp, I immediately try to figure out what it does best and what its weaknesses. And you guys do a good job of using that comp's weakness to your advantage. And what I mean by that is when we part this fight. So before we get into this fight, I always like to go over the comp, like I said. What are they playing? So you are playing Kiriko Mercy, and they're playing Baptiste and Zen. And it's pretty easy to differentiate what kind of comp they're trying to play. They have the same 3 players on these, but they have a different support line. And because they have a different support line, they're playing a completely different comp than you. And that might sound weird, but it is. It is weird, but that's what it is. They're playing a completely different comp. So, like I said, I like to look at their characters and say, what do these characters like to do and how can we counter that? So Baptiste and Zenyatta have a specific way that they can play towards the enemy that benefits them. Zenyatta with the Discord and his chip damage, and Baptiste with his damage and his amplified field. They want to take advantage of long, straight sight lines, and they want to take advantage of that and fight because of the characters they're playing, continuing the characters you're playing, they will beat you in a long, drawn out, just like poke fight because they have the Discord and because they have the extra damage from the Baptiste. The Baptiste doesn't have reduced damage with headshots, right? Kiriko only does 30 damage with a headshot. He's doing lots of damage to your shield. And I mean, the Mercy helps with the damage boost, but the Zenyatta damage and the Discord is better for more like just frontline poke. So they want to get you into these long hallways and do a lot of frontline poke to you and kind of whittle you down quickly like that. But what counters them? What counters a Zen, right? What counters a Widow? I mean, what counters a Baptiste to a degree? Hard, close angles and flankers. So what I would ask, because you have this kind of thing where you have the Kiriko who can kind of go on a little bit of a flank, or you have the Mercy who can follow a flanker with a damage boost. How do we want to play that? We want to play hard, close angles, and we want to deny them this long hallway. And that's why I think maybe one of these could be subbed out with like a Genji. I feel like that would be much, much better against this comp, especially the Zenyatta. A damage boosted Genji is very, 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 very good. Not a lot of teams are running it. It's very, very good. I am very surprised the lack of pocket Genjis that are in scrims, because it really is that powerful, because the lack of Genji doesn't have to worry about the amount of stuns anymore, and he's still getting that value from the damage boost and healing. So you do a really good job here, or at least Parker does,
This ends now.
of kind of walking up like this. See how he's walking up and playing these kind of like off angles and just completely whittling down his team. He's denying. He does a really good job, and you kind of waste that ult. He does a really, really, really good job at closing the distance and denying that long angle for their supports, and you win the fight because of it. And the way the team can identify this without an IGL that kind of identifies it every time. Excuse me, I have to take a drink of my water. What as a support player, Murph or Boop, when I look at their supports, what would I want to do as that support? Like, what would I want to do that would make it easiest for me? Like, if Murph is playing Baptiste, what does she want to do? How does she want to play? I want to play in long angles and use my ultimate to the best of his ability, right? If Murph is also playing Zen because it's double flex support. What do I want to do? I want to get in long angles, discord people, and do damage, right? How do we deny that? How do we stop that from happening?
Hello.
So that was a really good fight, I think. Okay, he wastes rock. I mean, he'll have it back by the time the fight starts, but I mean, that's... Oh, they're taking a little cool angle. Nice kill on him.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard.
Have that. So let's go over how Murph uses that ultimate here.
Hubris. No one can hide from my sight.
Let the Kitsune guide you.
Okay. I don't mind that you using this ult right here, Murph. I think it's good. The only problem is I think you might have used it a little bit too far back. If we look at the range of the Kitsune, it's quite far. Quite far. I mean, it's probably about 30 meters long, I would assume. So you have a little bit of leniency when you use the ultimate. What I will say is that you see how when you use it right here, there's I would consider this section of it to be underused. Like this sixth section of it, almost half of it won't be used because of the way that the team branches out. They branch out like this. So once that happens, you can't really get sightlines on that. You can't really get sightlines on this. So what I will use is if you're going to use it, which is a totally fine situation to do it, like walk in a little bit further to get the maximum value out of it, right? Start the Kitsune like possibly like right here, because like when you think of it this long, right? That'll probably stretch to, if you start right here, it'll probably stretch to about here. And what that does is not only does it give you this angle, but also if you come to here, it gives you this angle and this angle. So when you're using the ultimate, make sure not to kind of get trigger happy with it and use it like right when someone says to use it. Think about how, like, obviously you can't completely know the exact range whenever you use it. I mean, takes so much practice. But where can I move up a little bit and maybe get a little bit more value out of it before I use it immediately? Is this the best place to use it, right? Just think about that a little bit. I think that'll help you a lot. Because what happens is, the way they kite, you get no value out of it. You don't use it at all. Because they kite here, so you have to go in there, you don't really get any value out of it. I don't think you get anything out of it.
My barrier is gone.
Foxart is completely diffing this guy. He gets unlucky.
This ends now.
So I think the reason you guys lost that is because you overcommitted, not because of anything you did wrong, but not because you didn't overcommit yourselves. You overcommitted because you didn't use the Kitsune in the right way. So you were forced to overcommit into a bad situation to like compensate for it. If that makes any sense. Well, if I'll say that in a little bit simpler terms, is that because the Kitsune was right here, and these two were right here, and these two were right here, you were forced to overcompensate here to try to win the fight, even though you didn't get value off the ultimate. Because if you can't lose the fight when you use that ultimate, so you're saying, all right, we have to go here to kill these guys, so we can at least, say the fight was won, even if we didn't get value out of the ultimate. And what happens is, you kind of get, you pushed up here. You're forced to use abilities, forced to use Suzu to keep the Sigma alive. Sigma walks up here, uses his flux, kills your Sigma, and then you lose the fight.
Cybernetics regulating.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
But I think every fight, even if it's a lost fight, has its positives. I mean, you guys clearly understood that you had to win that fight regardless if you got value out of the ultimate. So you're like, we had to push in there. That was the right choice. That was absolutely the right choice. You didn't win the fight, but it was absolutely the right choice.
This ends now.
Good kill. You guys win that fight pretty easily. Ooh. Oh. Oh, Murph kind of pushes up too far. That's just in my, I mean, it happens to everybody. Push up too far. Bladed. He's actually won. Wow, that was a really bad play. Not sure what he was thinking. Get that out. Pretty good. Pretty good trade, I think. What is this guy up to? I don't know what the fuck that was. Now he leads the team in the dust. That was completely his fault. Wow. Not sure what that was.
Team kill.
I mean, at that point, the tank just kind of left you in the dust. I mean, nothing really could have done there. He was completely out of position. And when the tank is out of position and dies, you don't really win the game. You're not really going to win any fights.
Now.
It all runs through the tank. So you're kind of just forced to touch here. Use 3 ults.
Recharging.
4 ults, actually.
Cybernetics
Barrier has
regulating.
fallen.
One of the best pieces of advice I can give you is in a time of panic, in a time of like crisis like that, don't panic. That's what I mean. In a time of crisis, don't panic. Continue to communicate with what ults we're going to use, because using something like that, using Kitsune and Overclock and Visor and Valk is complete overkill. Like I would probably use just Valk and Visor or just Overclock and Valk. I know you had the Valk to touch the point, So you have to combo Valk with something. I would say probably not both support ults, either Valk and Visor or Valk and Overclock. Probably Valk and Visor. Although I think Overclock and Valk might have been actually, now that I think about it, better because you're getting the value off of the increased damage. In the next fight, you use the Visor with the Kitsune and get an increased fire rate. So in times of panic, or in times of crisis, don't panic. Continue to use your ultimates in a sparing way. Continue to communicate what we want to do. Because it's times like this where you use those 4 ultimates. I mean, the enemy team doesn't have the best ult economy, right? They only have 1 ult coming up here. But their Kitsune, they're 42 Kitsune, they're 35 to Flux, 30 to Blade. It's better than you all being at 4 to 10% and just being 50% to mines. I would have this guy go switch now.
Hello.
Probably he had time to switch.
We are falling apart. Breaking them down.
How do you die?
Breaking them down.
Yeah.
We are falling apart.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't use your TP like that. I mean, obviously you know that. I don't think it's too much to dwell on. Using an ability like that. I know we went over this when I did that previous VOD with you. Using a movement ability like that, especially in the middle of a fight, most likely and a lot of times will kill you because you don't have that to escape. I would also say, especially because now that you're low, I'd also say that your positioning is a little questionable. I would probably say the 2 best positions to be when you're fighting a fight like this would either be to be over here-ish, like at this corner, or up here. Just because, like, when you think about it, when you're support, even though you have that really valuable TP ability, why not give yourself more value, right? Why not give yourself more escapability and more survivability? So when you play in a place like this, where your only escape is like through crossfire, like that's probably going to get you killed, probably going to force out abilities from you in the least. So I would say if you're playing right here in this corner and you're kind of just like poking at the Sigma from here, if he tries to rock you, just walk over here. You know, you get half health, you can just kind of walk over here, go into here if you need to. If you're up here, you can easily just walk backwards and no one will see you. I mean, so maybe someone up here might see you, but you can walk to your right and you'll be able to escape that. So I think Parker is also in a bad position to where you're kind of forced to help him. I would say Parker should be up here, and then I probably would swap the soldier out for something different because kind of these 2 things kind of do the same thing. Possibly maybe a Tracer, a Genji, Reaper, something different that kind of like changes the way that they fight, different than the Sojourn, because you don't want 2 people doing the same thing. I mean, just damage is not good enough to win a fight. I mean, they have. You might think they have McCree, so is that the same as Sojourn? Not quite. I mean, McCree has quick burst potential. I know Soldier does, but McCree has more reliable burst potential. He also has a zoning ultimate. He also has a like quick burst damage, right, with his headshots. Soldier kind of has like a little bit of whittling down damage with that tiny burst potential. Sojourn is similar, kind of a hybrid of the both, where she has that kind of multi-burst potential with if she's charging railguns. Most of the time, she's doing quick damage. So I'd probably swap this out for maybe a Genji, like I said, vertical high ground, help with the ball if you're going to play ball. Just kind of puts pressure on the back line. A Reaper kind of put pressure on the tank. I'd probably Stray against Reaper against this comp, but it's just kind of like a different, I'm just kind of spitballing out here. Genji, like I said, Tracer would be good. Distract the back line, force out important abilities, force out try to one clip the Kiriko, maybe force out Suzu, maybe a force out Lamp, be a force out McCree, Flashbang, maybe a force out Rock or a Suck. The constant damage, especially with the shield, especially with this amount of healing that they have, might not be the best way to deal with it. But to go back what I said, not to delve too far when I was originally talking about this kind of spot area. You might think it's okay because you have like the stairs, but like in reality, this is a bad spot. You'd rather be up here or right here for easy escapability. But most likely here, you do die.
Breaking them down.
Force goes for the res, possibly loses her life for it. Can't believe she got out there. Gets a kill on McCree. Cannot believe he got out. See, this is great. Perfect. Oh, you drop. And you TP there. You don't need to use that. You see what I mean? Like, you don't need to use that TP to get to him. And he just completely feeds. Like, has nothing to do with you. And he feeds as well. Yeah, and just the whole team kind of discombobulates after that.
30 seconds remaining.
Not so fast.
This ends now.
Like, you guys just completely discombobulate because of how far you pushed up. So. Totally understandable how you lose this fight. And totally fixable, right? Some people might have concerns with, if they can compete against other teams. The way you lost that fight had nothing to do with mechanical skill. Nothing to do, zero to do with mechanical skill. It was all due to positioning, all due to decision making. Right?
Score.
So
0-3. Switching sides.
When you positioned well, you worked together, you guys won those fights.
Ready for battle.
So let's check out the attack now. It's interesting. I'm wondering if you guys keep the Sigma. Okay. I see a Lucio and a Monkey. In this particular map, I would probably sub out the Monkey for a Mercy, just because the verticality kind of hinders the way he can speed people. You're also not speeding anybody in this comp. You have a guy that's playing back. A Mercy would be perfect in this comp. Perfect. You have, you can bounce off the targets here, damage boost here, whatever. You can follow the Monkey in. A Lucio is better for maybe a rush comp with Genji, like Reaper or something like that, or maybe McCree on more flat ground comps where you're not kind of diving high grounds. But we all know that. We already know that. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Interesting. What the hell is happening? So, though interesting, I would never, ever recommend doing that, ever, in any circumstance. Not only are you diving into a possible 5-man backline, you are also diving into something that you have no idea is there. You don't know what's happening. You don't know where you're going. You could land on a Reinhardt and a Reaper and a McCree and a Baptiste and a Kiriko. You have no idea what you're jumping into. I wouldn't entertain this kind of idea, especially in a match. You get more value from just seeing what they have and just jumping on the Sigma and just kind of denying that area for your DPS than completely jumping into the backline right here, putting your bubble down, and just being right here, well, like the Sigma dropping is just completely throw. Like he threw, right? And then he kind of backs up here, but I mean he could easily just kill your backline if he continue to stay up here. People on cart are dying, absolutely. With the Baptiste damage and the
Barrier unsuccessful.
Tricorp. This guy's got a death wish. Boxard pays for it.
Now you see me? Now you don't. Do your worst.
Okay, well, I mean, the first part of that fight was good until he jumped back in with low health. I mean, I know he's not part of the. I'm assuming he's not part of the team if that's what the person that you were referring to that was dropped. Yeah, it's not going well, and I mean, the Lucio isn't doing him any favors as well, so can't say it's all on him. I mean, he is going in too far, but the Lucio isn't doing him any favors.
Het universum zingt voor mij.
Continue to kind of, get kills, but the dives don't look coordinated. That was a very good opportunity, I would say. Something I want you to take notice to, Murph in particular, is this is what this Grim code really helps. So, Kiriko is good because her ultimate's good. She has a cleanse, right? But she's very good at healing, but she's also very good at damaging, right? That's part of it. So, Baptiste is similar, and so is Zen. These three characters are very, very similar to each other in that they are very damage-oriented deep healers. So, I don't know how long this game has gone for. Actually, we can check right now. 13 minutes, so it's a 13-minute game. Zen has 6,000 healing, 6,000 damage, so that goes around 13,000. So he's doing about 1,000 damage and 1,000 healing a minute, which is very good. And you have Baptiste, who's got 9,000 healing and 3,000 damage, so he's about, technically, if we round up, about 11,000, 12,000 healing and damage combined in 13 minutes, which is pretty good. You have 10,000 healing, which is really, really good, obviously, for a 13-minute game, whatever. But I think this stat right here is a little, not troubling. That's not a word that I would use to describe that. I would just say that we'd like to get that up a little bit. I think I'd like to see you do more damage. And I know you're gonna say something like, well, I just trying to make sure I keep the people up, whatever, people are getting really low. That's totally understandable. What I will say is that they're not taking a lot of damage if the enemy team is dead, right? If enemy DPS are dead, they're not taking much damage. So what I'll say is, don't be afraid. Like, tell your team, like, let's not go too aggressive. I want to focus more on damaging. I want to damage more of this character. I want to get the most out of this character. I'm going to try to initiate a fight, right? I'm going to flank around and try to assassinate a support and TP out, or something like that. Like, don't be afraid to kind of, take risks, right? I mean, it's all scrims. It's all about proving, like, trying new things. Like, I'd like to see you in the next, if I ever bought a future one, whatever. I'd like to see this number in a 13-minute game maybe get up to, I don't know, 3,000, right? Let's start small. 3,000 damage, 2,000 damage, whatever. Let's double it. 2,000 damage, right? In the next scrim. Maybe 9,000 healing, or maybe, yeah, that's good. 9,000 healing, 2,000 damage, right? Maybe the next time you do maybe 8,500 healing, so you're doing less healing, a little bit less healing, but 3,000 damage. You're getting more uptime, right? You're improving on that, right? Improving on, the distinction between when to do damage, when to heal, whatever. And we keep improving on that. And then, after time, continue to practice, you're not sacrificing healing for damage. You're increasing your amount of healing and you're increasing your amount of damage, right? That's the goal, right? So I would probably say that by your next scrim, if you have this here on one of the maps, look to see if you're doing more damage than you did in this map, right? And like I said, 120 with, look, I haven't said this before, but 120 headshot, 30, body shot. Practice your aim. Practice. This is the best place to practice your aims in a scrim. Practice hitting headshots on them. Call out when you headshot somebody. Maybe they can dive him, get the kill. Just something that you probably, if you're going to play Kiriko, you're going to want your Kiriko like you do. I would try to get the most out of it like that. Probably a wasted primal. Definitely a wasted primal, actually. I mean, sure, you do secure the point, but you didn't need to do that to secure the point. You already secured the point, most likely. Like, no one's going to contest that point. But, you see, in that fight right there, you did about 300 healing and 280 damage. Like, that was pretty good. In one fight. Which lasts about 30 seconds. So you're doing about 1,000 damage, whatever. 500, 500.
This ends now. This ends now.
Be purified.
Pass into the abyss.
Good force out. Guys, you guys gotta win that fight. And you're not, you see how you're separated you guys are getting?
Pass into the iris.
Like, watch what happens. Genji's like, alright, let me go in now. But you have no healers and you have no help with the DPS, right? So you're like, sure, he doesn't have trans, but you're not invincible when he doesn't have trans. Like, you're probably gonna maybe kill one person and die. I would assume in a regular scenario, but I already know what happens. You die immediately. So does Monkey. So I mean, complete overextension. Murph is forced to TP in to help you, and she's probably dead. Or now you're fighting a 5v3 when it was literally winnable. When they used 3 ults that fight and you were winning. So. And I don't think the Genji swap is, I don't think the swap to McCree is necessary. I think you were doing quite well. So, most of the time, the reason you guys lose has nothing to do with mechanical skill. I mean, in some cases it does. Obviously, it's never going to be not the case. But most of the time, you guys are, losing on your own free will. One thing for Boop, I'm assuming you do notice, but just for kind of discipline, right? Knowing your own discipline, you can beat in the air when you're ulted by Sigma. Like, when you're up in the air, you can still beat, and it will just beat in the air. You don't have to go down to the ground. So just to get that little discipline, and maybe he misses the ultimate, right? Like he just did. Save your beat, right? You can save your beat for that. Save your beat for when you're up in the air, right? And it also helps you because you're getting your because instead of maybe losing, you're actually gaining more, gaining more health out of it, because when you use it when you're up there, it'll half out the maximum health you have at that current time, which is the overhealth from the beat. So more beat health will be drained by the time you land from the time you use it when you're up there. So you probably, leave that with more health. If that makes sense. Nice, you're getting picks. Definitely winnable. 2v2. 2v1. Ooh, nice. I'd say the Orisa moves more well with the Lucio comp, although I don't quite know how well Orisa and Sigma interact with each other. I would assume that Sigma might have an upper hand on this map in particular. Although, never played against Orisa on this map, so I don't know.
This ends now.
Nice trade. Ooh, Parker. He heals. Oh, he's not getting healed. Yikes. So this is a good fight to VOD as well. How do we lose this fight, right? So he whiffs. Suzu's wasted. I mean, keeping him alive is most important. If you feel like you have to Suzu him, absolutely do it. I think maybe Murph was a little bit scared of the pulse bomb killing him, which is totally fine. I mean, that's totally fine. Nothing wrong with that. I will say that it didn't get any value, but that's you're supposed to use that in this area no matter what.
This ends now.
My thoughts in my head right now are wondering if Lucio is good for Orisa, because I wonder. The way that I want to play Orisa is possibly different from the way Orisa should be played. The way I want to play Orisa is to play her as a kind of just wall and just stand there and make room for the DPS, but not going too aggressive. But I feel like you can get aggressive with Orisa, but it needs to be you need to get aggressive, right? You need to do that if you're going to play Lucio. If you're playing Mercy, I feel like it'd probably be easier for Orisa to stand there and kind of take damage. But Boop dies because she's just kind of standing in the crossfire, right? Where they're kind of just ignoring the Orisa and shooting you. So if you're going to play Lucio, I'd probably say you'd want to get more aggressive on their supports or their backline, and stop that kind of stagnation that you have in that fight. I mean, you use Kitsune, perfect time to do that. And also Parker is a little bit out of position. Just make sure when you're using your ultimate or you're pushing up a Sojourn, you ultimate, which is totally fine. You kill someone. You have time right now to leave. I would argue that this is the perfect time to leave. As soon as you see a Sigma come up here, oh, I can't win this fight. I cannot beat this guy in a 1v1. I'm going to leave and get my team to help me. But what happens is you get down super low trying to fight him, and then you leave, and there's a miscommunication between you and your support. So now you're low, and you can easily get healed here, but Orisa's forced to get healed because she's low. And you die. And you might think, oh, Murph didn't heal me, but that's actually I would consider that to be your fault because you were out of position and had to leave, and Murph is still trying to do her job, which is help the tank. And she's not obligated to, help you when you made a mistake, right? You're supposed to be in that position to where you're not making a mistake like that. So I would have gotten the kill on Baptiste, noticed that Sigma is trying to kill me, immediately back up. I mean, I know you don't have the slide, but probably backing up would have been easier than trying to fight him and then back up. Okay. But instead, use Kitsune, use Overclock. They use Trans and Pulse Bomb, but they don't get anything out of it. And you lose. You lose that ultimate fight again. But like I said, You know, Parker has no problem killing people with his
60
mechanics.
seconds
And neither does Fox, and neither does Murph or whatever. It's all has to do with positioning and decision making. Go under. I never really even gone under there. Should try that one time.
Thirty
Das
seconds
Universum
remaining.
singt vor mir!
Oops, dead. Yikes.
This ends now.
I think I don't like the Arista against this comp.
10 seconds.
You can't go fast enough into them because of, like, I don't know. You'd have to waste all your abilities to get past the shield and stuff, and then you just get, discorded, and you're not having a fun time. I'd probably say stick with the Sigma. I think Sigma v Sigma in that match is probably your best bet. Perhaps a Hog if you're confident with it. But moral of the story, lots of decision making, right? Needs to be fixed. Lots of positioning issues. I think you guys have it. I think you guys have a great roster. Once you find that tank that kind of fits with you guys, you're going to do very well. You have the pieces there. It's all about taking those pieces and improving something that's not mechanics, right? There's always time to improve mechanics. But got to come together and improve our game sense and our decision making. And I feel like that's on your coach. So, to help you with that. I mean, some people don't improve no matter what in decision making. That's just who they are as a person, but there's always room. Okay.